This podcast is sponsored by Tusk, a continuity of business solution for industries that struggle with traditional banking. Check them out on the web at tusk.network. The Rob McNealy program is the nexus of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and entrepreneurship. Now, welcome to the program. Ready?
Yep.
Today, we're talking to Justin Seidl of Vertbase. They are a centralized crypto exchange based out of the Wisconsin, Madison area, I believe. Well, Green Bay, Wisconsin area. So, Justin, thank you for coming on today. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to kind of just chat with you and kind of talk about what we're doing over at Vertbase.
Well, I'm glad you able to make the time. I know you're really busy because everybody's busy, but you're building something, and that's always impressive. And it's cool that you can make time for our community just to learn more about what you guys are doing. Let's just jump in a little bit. How did you get into the crypto space?
I think it was just a curiosity. So I've got a designer and developer background. I've done a lot of things in the fintech space, and as the blockchain industry kind of started to get more notice, I started to dig into it. And the number one thing I wanted to start doing was mining. But that kind of led me down a rabbit hole of different assets, different currencies, and then different ways that I could kind of contribute back to the crypto industry until now.
So why did you decide to launch a crypto exchange? How did that idea kind of
I think I really like what Coinbase is doing. I like how simple they made it for the beginner user. And I loved what they're, how that kind of brought people into Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum at the time. I had grown in favor of a coin at the time called Vertcoin, and they didn't have that same easiness and little friction to just buy with US dollar Vertcoin. Instead, you'd have to buy Bitcoin from Coinbase and then send that Bitcoin to like a Korean exchange or some random exchange that I didn't really know too much about. Get the Vertcoin and then send it back to my Vertcoin address. And it just was a lot of friction. And to me, it was very confusing, even with my background with development. So I just wanted to kind of simplify for these mid-tier and smaller projects that same flow that Coinbase offers to users.
So kind of what I'm hearing is the bottom line is some of the bigger exchanges like Bittrex and Coinbase and Binance, I would say they're almost biased against a lot of smaller projects.
Yeah, I mean, Binance it's very well known in the past. They charged a massive listing fee. Bittrex actually is very open to listing as many coins as they possibly can and supporting those assets in any way that they can. The one thing with those two solutions, though, is they don't make it simple for the new user that's just interested in acquiring an asset. They don't maybe understand what a buy, sell, and like the market tickers are. That might be a little too much and expecting too much from them to jump in and feel confident in spending $50 with a price chart. So, just a nice, easy flow that Coinbase does is a good way to introduce new users and kind of spread mass adoption.
Well, I agree. It's like a lot of people think like, oh, let's get into crypto. And the thing is, it's like you're trying to make people be stockbrokers just to buy something, right?
Exactly. And it's not hard to pick up if you really dig into it, but people don't want to really dig into it, especially when some of these little crypto booms happen. They want to buy, and then they want to learn later, unfortunately.
Well, I think, but I hear that a lot. They're like, well, crypto will make people learn. You see this in crypto Twitter, right? It's like, crypto will make people learn about economics and banking history. And I'm like, people don't want to learn that. They don't care about that. They just want to work.
Exactly. They want it to be very simple. And, as a designer as well, one of the things I always kind of rely on is just think of the dumbest possible person making the dumbest possible, mistake on your website. Like, you have to build a solution for them. Just think of somebody that is going to take a route that you would never think of. You can't expect them all to just do it the way that it's been set up in the industry to start.
Well, I think that's a pretty common problem with developers in general, engineers, developers, is that they're all about the features and they want to build, features and functionality and things like that. But oftentimes I think where they fall a little short is, the usability factor, the desirability factor, what do your end users think? And you can even look at like Linux, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yep.
Linux is an amazing operating system, especially on desktop. And one of my laptops runs Ubuntu. But it's hard to make things, to do things on there unless you want to learn command line. And people don't want to learn command line. I mean, a lot of people like me, we really like DOS back in the day, but I like a GUI.
Yep.
And you got to go through and think about what your users want. I think back when I was younger and looking at the startup world, people would say, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? And the thought behind that was, don't sell to people based on how you want to be sold. Sell
Right.
to people based on how they want to be sold. And I think when it comes to like developing projects, you got to make it easy for people to buy and sell and do business with you. And that's number one. Don't make it hard for grandma to use your crypto.
Exactly. Yep.
So, starting an exchange, I mean, it sounds really complicated to me from a legal perspective in the United States. Kind of what have you had to do, from a legal framework to do business in the United States and doing business in Europe?
Yeah, I think it's starting with the United States was a pretty daunting task, but because of the nature of the United States, the US dollar being kind of pegged as the global dollar, they do have the most regulation around how you kind of operate with the US dollar because of the amount of money laundering and terrorist activities that kind of can come through the US dollar. So that's when we're talking about working with the federal government and FinCEN, we are registered as a money services business, and that just entails that we're responsible for knowing where the money's coming from and where the money that we're pushing out is going, and making sure that we're keeping all these assets secure for our users, and then also not bringing on assets that are compromised in any way, that are from illegal activities or are from funded terrorist groups. Preventing those types of transactions on our site is very important to the federal government. So we report to FinCEN. That's kind of our responsibilities with them. And then on the state level, there is like money transmitter laws and certain ways that you need to handle how funds flow. And because of that, we're only able to operate in 39 of the 50 states right now. And that's just because there's a lot of gray area. There's not the real states that are definitive are Washington and New York. New York, obviously, with the BIT license. They just put a hammer down on it and said, if you don't have this, you can't operate. So we're kind of working through those, navigating through them. It took a great deal of time to get through those. From when I decided to kind of start this project in January of 2018, it took until September of 2018 to actually launch and start offering our exchange to our users. And majority of that time was just spent on getting the banking payment processor relations intact. And that's because they need to make sure that we're properly regulated and have our compliance together so that they can properly regulate and do compliance on us. But once we got through that, it really kind of solidified that we are doing this and that we're doing it in the proper way. And it really kind of is a great blueprint for like getting over to Europe, because they kind of follow those same standards. They're a little more lenient, but we kind of take that same approach over there, and we're going to do the same thing for Australia to really just make sure that we're, airtight and got everything sealed. So we're doing things the correct way within the regions that we work.
So you had to register as an MSB with the feds, but did you have to get an individual money transmitter license with all the states you're doing business in?
So the 39 states that we're working in right now, we did not need to get money transmitter licenses. And that is because, we operate as an instant buy and sell platform where we're directly working with the user and providing them the asset that they're buying or selling to. Where the money transmitter licenses really kind of come into play are if it was peer-to-peer, like a peer-to-peer marketplace directly. And, there's some other things that need to happen. We're non-custodial. That helps our case out as well. But yeah, there's a number of different things. And some states, I talked to a member of, or a head of the financial department for California, and he said to keep checking with them, always stay up on any new laws that could come out. But at that time of talking to them, California just does not recognize, for instance, Bitcoin as a true currency. They don't, it's not because they don't want to, it's just in their eyes, they don't see it as like, the yen or the Australian dollar. So they're like, our rules don't apply to that. Money transmission doesn't apply to Bitcoin or any other digital asset, digital currency, because it is not viewed as a currency in our eyes right now. So
Utah's the same way right now as well.
Yeah, and I think Montana, Tennessee might be similar. They all have a different stance, and it makes it tough. But hopefully, in the next couple of years, we kind of get a nice across the board understanding of what is allowed and what's not allowed.
So help me understand your model. So you're not doing peer-to-peer trading. So that sounds like you're more like a store, but then you also said you're not custodial. So right. How does that really work?
Yeah, definitely. The number one thing we want is you to be in control of your assets. The last thing we want to do is hold on to any of your digital assets on our platform and have a hack or security breach or something where our users' funds are lost. So to even minimize that further, let's approach it with a non-custodial solution, meaning that if you place a buy on Vertbase, we'll take your funds. It's in transit through the payment processor, and as soon as it hits our bank account, the digital assets that you had ordered are sent directly to your wallet of choice. You could provide us a wallet that's on another exchange. We have people doing that. We recommend not doing that. But any wallet that you want to use, BitFi, Trezor, Ledger, any of those, any core wallet for the assets that we support is also very recommended. But that process kind of ensures safety for us, but more importantly, safety for our users. And that process means that on the back end, we're working with numerous exchanges to kind of go and get you the best price for the asset that we're selling or buying from you, and then turning that around as soon as the order's placed with you.
So you're kind of acting as, you're not actually having like an inventory of crypto that you're just sitting there waiting for a sale like a store.
Right.
You're going through and reaching out to other exchanges real time, almost like an arbitrage where you're getting the best or shopping the price around. And exactly. Then you help facilitate the sale from another location.
And we do keep a store, but because of the fluctuating prices, we don't heavily rely on that, because we would more than likely lose all our money doing it that route. So yeah, we keep a store to kind of keep transactions flowing fast and quickly, but we are using exchanges to kind of be our back end. Very, very much the same way that Coinbase, the basic Coinbase relies on GDAX to kind of fill all of their orders as well.
So that's interesting, and I think we need more solutions in that kind of realm. I mean, the non-custodial, I think, is the future for crypto, especially with all the hacks. I mean, and so I think that what you're doing is important. So currently right now, what countries can you operate in legally? What customers can you serve? Is it only Americans, or you said something about Australians? Where are you in that roadmap? We're
in the United States right now. We're also in the UK. So we have the British pound available for users and the euro as well. With our payment processor that we're using, we're really only set up for Germany. And that's because we're working with the open banking APIs in Europe. And open banking is an incredible new technology that Europe, the UK are really pushing out, where they have instant transfers. So our users will initiate a transfer from their bank account to our bank account with a reference number. As soon as it hits our bank account, we send the assets. And we're looking at a total order span in the UK right now is averaging around 5 minutes. Whereas in the US, we're looking at a minimum of 5 to 6 business days. And that's just because of the banking setup that they have. In September, I believe late September, it will be mandated that every country in the European Union will need to rely on the open banking standards. And that will open up the rest of the European Union countries. So at that point, then we'll have all of Europe. And then hopefully shortly we'll have Australia as well.
Wow, if they get all those European countries on instant transfer, maybe they don't need crypto.
Yeah, maybe.
So how long does it take for a new user to get onboarded to your platform? Say, I just heard about Bitcoin. I want Bitcoin. Vertbase sounds great. I have a credit card. What do I do? How long does that take?
Yeah. Well, first, we don't accept credit cards yet, unfortunately, but that is something we are working on, and I think it'll be coming very soon. It's just a matter of logistics. But when you're going from sign up to placing your first order, it really can be less than 5 minutes. You're signing up, you're providing us with some details for KYC. I know it's not a great thing that people are very happy with all the time, but unfortunately now with current SEC guidelines that they've been pushing out, if you do crypto to crypto, crypto to fiat, KYC is now mandatory, and reporting as an MSB is now mandatory in the United States. So it's something that we need, or we can't operate, and we can't operate legally if we don't do it. But it's your name, email, verifying that identity, and then we do a document verification as well. And once you pass through that, in like 2-3 minutes, you can place your first order. And unlike Coinbase, you need to fund your account on Coinbase first. And that's where you'll turn around, fund your USD wallet on Coinbase, and have to wait anywhere from 2, 3, sometimes 5 to 6 business days for your Coinbase wallet to be funded. And then from there, you can make a purchase unless you use a credit card. So we kind of take a different approach to that and allow you to place the order, and then once the money settles, we then send the assets.
So are you people sending you like an ACH from their checking account, or are they doing like a wire transfer?
Correct. So we do ACH transfers right now. We do accept wires, but on larger OTC orders. So if we have users that are interested in a larger investment, they can reach out to us directly and we'll facilitate that for them. But yeah, it's all ACH transfers. We use a third-party partner called Plaid to securely connect your bank account details to make that transaction. And then, with this, we got a couple new payment processors we're working on. With the reduced ACH times that we're working on, wire transfers will be available, and possibly debit credit card as well.
Wow. How long do you think that would be? How long do you think that's going to be before you guys have a handle on that?
Yeah, I think, if we've got a couple options available to us, if it progresses well, month, 2 months, maybe 3 months if it gets pushed out. But I think one of the exciting things for not only us, but I think just this industry in general, the banks and the payment processors are finally realizing that the ones that do take on these businesses that are doing things the right way, there's an enormous amount of value for them. And so now everybody's trying to play catch up, and everybody's trying to offer their solutions and open it up a little bit more. And I don't think it'll be long before, standard Square, Visa, MasterCard payment processors are going to be like, okay, we'll accept crypto now. So I think it's coming. I think the industry's loosening their grip on it a little bit, and we'll have you'll start to see a lot better rates across the board for everybody trying to invest in digital assets.
Well, I think what you're going to see eventually is Visa and MasterCard transaction fees are going to have to go down as well, because they're going to be competing with cryptos that have very low friction and very low fees, depending on the crypto, of course. But I think it's interesting where the market's going, and I think you're right. I think they're going to have to say, okay, this isn't going away now.
Yeah.
these little mosquitoes have been around for a long time, and now they're starting to like get concerned. Either they need to try to jump in and try to take it over, Libra, or go in and try to like say, okay, how do we play in the sandbox with these annoying little kitties that just came to the market?
Yeah, but it's great. I love it. It's pushing that innovation envelope forward. And I think as long as this industry sticks to their ideals and really kind of pushes them forward, it'll be change for the good.
So you guys talk about on your website a lot about community projects, and you don't have a ton of projects listed or a lot of assets that are listed right now. What do you guys mean when you support community projects, and what do you look for when you onboard new assets?
Yeah, definitely. So we've kind of moved, and I'll just be very transparent here. We've moved a little slower on onboarding assets just because of the ability to bring up the nodes and get our development team behind it, and making sure that we're properly handling each asset separately. But we've got a couple solutions in the works that are going to allow us to onboard assets a lot faster. So we've already, each of the last 2 Mondays, we've added new assets. We're going to kind of continue on that trend and really try to open up to some of these projects that aren't widely available with like a USD or any fiat pairing, and just kind of help them have a better on-ramp. And we're not very biased. We're open to really anything. We just love hearing kind of the project, what it entails, and if it's got a good development team behind it and a community that's really strong and working with that development team to progress it forward, that's something we see as a huge value. And that's kind of it. I mean, we don't want to be biased. We want to kind of give everybody an opportunity, and if we can bring it on, we'll bring it on. And that our hope is that it kind of brings in bleeding edge technologies or ideas to some of these more established assets such as Bitcoin.
So do you guys have any intention of launching your own coin? A lot of exchanges are doing that these days.
We've played with that idea, and it's one of those that we're afraid if we cross that line, it'll come off as it might not come off in the best light. And we have enough on our plate at the same time as well. So I don't know if a coin is something that we can fully support, but just partnering with some of these coins and assets I think can be very beneficial for us, especially we've talked with like Digibyte, Ravencoin, Vertcoin's also working on an asset layer very similar to kind of what Bitcoin SV is doing. And those are very interesting in the sense that we can use those tokens for some really interesting ideas for passing information between a user's app and their mobile phone, unlocking their wallets or setting up a wallet for them when they're not established, doing security things with their wallet addresses. So we are looking into solutions like that, but as far as creating our own blockchain, I don't think it's on the roadmap anytime soon. So
couple quick final questions here. How did you guys start? Did you bootstrap this project? Do you have investors, or
Yep.
What was the genesis behind this, and how big is your project? Like, how many people are actually? I like the nuts and bolts of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So we're 5 to 6 people right now. So we have one or two individuals that are part-time, and it's me and my founder Stu, who lives in Perth, Australia. He's also a UK citizen, which helps kind of with the establishment of us in Europe and in Australia. But I started in January 2018. Stu joined me right in March when he kind of picked up on the idea and liked what I was doing, and we kind of just hit it off and started from there. Bootstrap from the start. We did get a small seed investment that kind of kickstarted us, but we've primarily just bootstrapped it the rest of the way. We are looking at investment, but it's one of those where the investment's not so much for the money that comes with it. It's more so for the strategic partnership and how we could either help that strategic partner and how they can help us, or how we can grow with that strategic partner. So for now, Bootstrap's kind of the way we're going to go. And if something presents itself that is of little more value than just monetary, we'll explore it and kind of go down that path as it comes.
Very cool. So are you currently tracked on CoinMarketCap as an exchange, or any of the other listing trackers like CoinGecko or any of those?
Yeah, we're not on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. They have reached out to us. It's one of those things where if we were to put ourselves on CoinMarketCap, because we deal with multiple other exchanges, we're actually just doubling up the volume, and it's not the true nature of the volume. So we've kind of approached them and told them that's the case with us right now. I know they've kind of been really, CoinMarketCap especially has been very proactive in some of these, I can't remember the term, the washed numbers where, market making bots on some of these exchanges are exploding the volumes for their exchange, and it's not true. So we've kind of mentioned that to them to be proactive, and they agree, like, until there's a better way that we can report our numbers without doubling up the volume of an asset, then we'll go down that path.
Well, I think I appreciate that transparency. There's, in the world out there in the exchanges, there's just so much nonsense out there. And as someone who's in a project myself, it's kind of frustrating trying to navigate that, because exchanges, I mean, we were told straight up, for some of these exchanges that they demand that if our actual trade volume fell, that we'd have to like pump up and fake our own volume. I'm like, that's kind of illegal. And besides the whole ethics and morality piece of that. So it's been frustrating. So, all right, I think we're about wrapping up here. Tell us more about where people can find you.
Yeah, definitely. Visit us at our website, vertbase.com. Check it out. We've got a brand new web design that's looking pretty sharp. We have our support area, our contact page, if you need any questions. If you're on the platform and you ever need to reach out to us, there's a little support chat bubble on the right. And then hit us up on Twitter. We're very, very active on Twitter. We love communicating with everybody and just kind of hear what they have to say. And whatever it is, we always listen. So if it's an asset you want to shill, you can come shill it. If you want to just ask us questions on the platform or provide us feedback and ideas that you have to make it better, we love hearing it.
Justin, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Rob McNealy program. Make sure you check us out on the web at robmcnealy.com and subscribe to our podcast at YouTube, iTunes, and on the Google Play Store.